All right, we're here talking to Dr. Nancy Fox, who is the president of the Lyme Education Awareness Foundation. Hi, Nancy. Good to have you here.
Hi, great to be here.
And Nancy has, among other things, a program for children to learn about ticks and Lyme disease prevention. And so this is something that we haven't really talked about on our interview series. We've talked to a lot of different people, but kids is an area where there's plenty that can be done to educate. And in some ways, it's the most effective because the kids will talk to their parents about this stuff. We know. So,
I
and you've had,
totally agree.
yeah, you've had quite a bit of success. I know that your program has grown quite a lot. So we want to learn more about that. So the acronym is LEAF, Lyme Education Awareness Foundation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and maybe some of your background too, like how you came into the Lyme community, because I think you were a Lyme disease sufferer yourself. Is that right?
That is true. On May 16, 2003, I had a blood test for Lyme disease by my local physician. And then I took my dad to a Lyme literate doc who encouraged me to get a test with him. And the morning test was negative and the evening test was CDC positive. So I'm the poster child for testing in the same exact day that I was negative and then positive. And I was positive, thankfully for the Lyme doc, that he tested for more than just Lyme. So I was tested positive for Lyme, babesiosis, and anaplasmosis. So we found some co-infections going on there that changed the way things happen. So once I was diagnosed and had reasons why I couldn't think properly and some achy joints and some shooting pains and just overall health was being impacted, I was in the midst of a master's degree in education, and special education had been my career. And then I also started working on my doctorate in 2006 once I got better. And I decided to look at what was going on in the Lyme disease world and find out who was helping the children. And the support groups were doing massive amounts of work with helping people who had contracted Lyme disease. And they were doing as much prevention as they could, but the overwhelming thing was there wasn't very much at all out there for children. And of course, I spent my whole life teaching and educating children. So it just made a good forward sense of let's put a program out there that helps kids learn about this sooner. So maybe we can prevent the incident and reduce their incident rate, especially between 5 and 14-year-olds.
Right. Yeah, that's really a good point too, because I think there are many organizations, obviously, that focus on the disease itself, and prevention is not as much a focus as it is, thinking about a cure or, the symptoms obviously very impactful, but the prevention is a way to get out ahead of it and not wind up in those situations. So that's great. So you started doing what exactly when you realized that kids were underserved in this area?
Yes. I wrote No Ticks, Please as the first book in 2010. And then I wrote a sequel that's basically a picture book for second graders and younger to start teaching kids about be aware. And it's in a fun way, non-threatening way, not scary way, although parents are still concerned about that. It's more scary for your child to contract one of those bacteria or viruses from a tick than it is to read a book about it and say, hey, this is something we should have knowledge about. Like a mosquito, nobody gets excited about mosquitoes except that they're biting them. So And then I wrote hide and seek, no ticks, please, which is 3rd to 5th grade. Right now I'm working on that bites for the middle school age kids.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I found that that was one way to get an outreach out there initially. And then the program came to be as I visited different areas and figured out what was happening in the Lyme disease world.
Yeah. How did you do sort of your initial outreach? Did you contact schools yourself, or what were the ways that you spread the word?
Well, here's the troublesome, the challenging part. You can contact a local school and ask a teacher to have you in as a presenter. Schools for the most part, and then there was COVID, so that's a whole nother gamut,
Yeah,
but
another
schools
chapter.
were not answering the call, so to speak. So I then decided, well, the best way to educate kids is to write a K-12 curriculum that gets embedded into all the aspects. You could do it in just health class. You could do it in computer science. You could do it in reading, writing, math, and science. So I created a curriculum for all levels, K-12, just specific areas from 9 to 12, but that could be implemented so that all kids could know about this. Obviously, I'm passionate about it. However, there have been a few private schools and one public school that have adopted the curriculum, but it's a hard sell because they're saying it's one more thing, even though I designed it with the teachers that worked with me to not be one more thing, it's integrated. So then that became a real struggle. We're still working on that to get it in schools. What I found was most effective was summer day camps, YMCAs, and boys and girls clubs.
Mhm.
That became our summer tour for the
Uh-huh.
Lyme Education and Awareness Foundation.
Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the schools are hard to change, I guess. In
That's a
sense
great way
where-
to put it.
Yeah, they've got enough going on. But which is unfortunate because you want it to be a little more well-rounded, like you have access to the kids and it's an educational, environment. Why not put more useful information into that, framework? But okay, so you were able to reach out more easily to the Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCA's and such. Is it mostly focused on camps? I mean, is that how you go into those communities?
Basically, that's where the kids are in the summer, since I
Uh,
couldn't break through with any kind of momentum with the school systems. And I decided, well, I'll go where the kids are, and I've worked in summer day camps early in my career. So
Right.
I know you need filler information. It's great if you can have a presenter and it's an educational forum where
Yeah.
they can learn about things they need to know. And especially during camp and being outside and doing those activities, it was a perfect fit.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about my sons were, counselors at camp, so they would definitely welcome that kind of stuff. That's really interesting. So it seems like there are so many of those that you could almost do that exclusively to work. Like I know that
It's true.
resources are a thing. Yeah.
Mark, let's talk about 2 weeks ago when my vice president and I were on the road for 6 days, 2,000 miles, 1,100 kids served in the New England area.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That was 1 week of the LEAF program summer camp.
That is a road trip.
It was, and we were tired. So we've taken a little bit of time and rested a little bit. And going back out there, we've had a couple of other presentations, but
Yeah.
that's a lot to do in a short period of time.
Sure. Well, that occurs to me, and one of the things I looked at, it's like you've got the curriculum already, though, right? So
Yes.
I mean, one of your goals, it sounded like, was to reach out to other people that could just take this curriculum and run with it
Absolutely.
themselves. So that would be awesome. I mean, we can think about more ways to do that. And Insect Shield is involved in some things like this, where there are meetings, or just trying to get the same kind of word out there, like this is a resource, you know.
Mhm.
Um, excuse me. So that is great. I mean, almost that could be your full-time job. I mean, it's like,
Yes, I'm waiting to retire so I can make it my full-time job. But my husband has a couple criteria in mind before
okay,
that happens.
good. How have you, the people that you've worked with so far, is anybody else kind of willing to step in and help, or how have you found other volunteers?
We have worked with that. We have had some people volunteer. I must say, well, in 2019, our summer tour reached 5,000 kids, 16 states, 11,000 miles.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then, of course, 2020, COVID hit, and then everything has slowed to almost a halt. I
Yeah.
was really thrilled to get back out on the road, and with the intensity, even though it sounds like a lot,
Yeah.
the intensity of reaching that many kids since COVID it's really encouraging.
Yeah.
So we've had a little bump in the road, so to speak. And I just want to do more, because while we were on tour a couple weeks ago, we were able to remove with a lint roller 2 ticks, and with tweezers off a shoe, um, in a camp that we were educating there.
Yeah.
And I don't know that those kids would have been aware without us being there, is
Right.
my concern. I don't
Right.
know that it's true, but it is my concern.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I'm wondering, like, what, in terms of outreach and people that can help you, what are the types of people that you would like to get in and connect with to help?
Well, I need educators. I need volunteers. I need I need corporate. I need some help from businesses and corporate to fund the program so we can
Mhm.
actually go out there and get that. You know, we were talking about NOAA earlier and Project Lyme, and they were able to give us 1,000 brochures to help people who, because what happens when we go out on tour, I'll alleviate to that, is that we give every child a bag, a leaf bag, we call it. It's a black Tyvek bag with a sling back. And inside that bag, we give prevention information. We give our brochure. We give our tick song. We give information about tweezers. We give information. We give coloring pages from my coloring book, and they can also download those on our website. So we want it to be ongoing, and we want to spread the information to the parents, as well as give that presentation to the kids. We demonstrate how to properly remove a tick during, and we tell the kids, we're, because a lot of people are worried about scaring the kids. Well, guess what? We talk to the kids about having superpowers. Number one, insect repellents or
Yeah.
shield. Insect shield would be great.
Sure.
Number two, daily tick checks, and this tick song goes with that. And number three, to educate their friends and families. That there are 3 superpowers that they are now in charge of preventing ticks.
Yeah.
So that's how we spin it in a very encouraging way, to get kids on board.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's a really good point about scaring people. And it's kind of one of those things where it's better to have the information. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's, in fact, like you said, it's kind of a superpower or an empowering thing to understand, rather than, oh, this tick's on me. What does that mean? Oh my God, I'm going to die. It's like, no, just take the right steps and go from there. So I really like this whole idea of reaching, out to many, many people. It's really about awareness. It's not to scare people.
No.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the other kind of partnerships or anything else that you've got going on.
Well, and that just, we've talked about it. I told my Vice President Christina Murphy, who's on road with me, and she's still Lyme positive. She's still dealing with the ongoing issues of Lyme, and she's such a trooper. And that was a really tough week for her, but she was there and getting it done. What I said to her is after we're at that camp with 200 campers and we find 3 ticks with no problem. They happen to be an American dog tick. We actually were able to send a couple of them away and find out, and we're waiting for test results. But what we realized is we're a drop in an ocean.
Yeah.
And the curriculum that I created was supposed to help with a rainstorm in the educational world. But we've had some challenges with that, of getting it where it needs to go. So the next step for us would be to create an app that is interesting for kids and give them their superpowers and be able to, that would be to go out there and create an app that would actually teach what we teach, that we can't be on the road 24/7,
Right.
getting to everyone who needs it. Maybe that would be our avenue, just one more avenue to reach kids in a great way.
Yeah.
And we've perfected this to the point where I don't believe in perfection, but we've made this such an encouraging presentation that people should come on board.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think an app, what we've found too, in trying to reach customers and so forth, is that you got to have a whole kind of blended approach, because
Yes.
in person is always going to be best. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no question. But once you have that, or in order to get that, you need these other, channels, whatever you want to call it. So I think that an app makes a lot of sense. Having stuff on the web, because somebody hears about it, they can go find it easily. We'll put links below the interview here on our page. But well, this is all super interesting, and I hope that we can just continue to have this conversation, because, like I said, I mean, kids are a vital part of the understanding and awareness, and not being reached as well as they might be, as you've said. So Nancy Fox, president of the Lyme Education Awareness Foundation, it's been great talking to you today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thanks a lot.